This month I was supposed to finish literally any game and failed, but I did finally stop playing Wild, so let's talk about that instead. I'll explain why this is out now and not my video, but that'll come up in the course of this conversation, so you'll find out in a minute. We started painting the room that I mentioned last month. It's taking forever. Everything in this house takes forever. We've done 3 coats on 2 walls and 3 coats on the ceiling, and then 2 coats on the woodwork, so the architrave. I think it's called an architrave. I never really know for sure. And the skirting boards, the door frame, all that stuff. We need to do the door itself. Not done that. I did chisel out the space for the new lock, so that's all done, which is good, because that took me a long time on the first door that we did, but I didn't have the correct tools for it then. Do have the correct tools for it now, and it took me like 15 minutes, so that's a lot better. Yeah, so I need to paint that door as well, but I'm going to do that last. Then, next thing to do is to strip and paint the last wall. So we've done the walls and the ceiling in grey, and all the woodwork is in a slightly darker shade of grey. And then we're doing this one wall and it's quite a dark shade of red, but that wall had wallpaper on it, and the wallpaper needs removing, but we chose to leave it because it meant that we could be a bit rougher with the grey, basically. Like, I didn't have to be as careful in the corners because it was just going onto wallpaper that we were going to remove anyway, so I didn't have to be as careful in that situation. It'll be a lot harder to cover up the grey with red than it would the other way around. So it'll be a lot harder to fix my mistakes the other way around. So we did it this way, so it'll make it easier for me. I like how it looks. It could look better. I'm mostly happy with it. I've got some more paint, so I could do more coats of the other stuff, but I probably won't. But while I was doing all of this painting, my wife was finally finishing her PhD. It's just taken a really long time. PhDs take a long time. So she was doing that while I was painting, which is the reason why this podcast's out now. So I was painting, she was doing that, then that needs submitting. So we were originally going to try and submit it, but then we realised that the formatting needed fixing. And then my wife got sick. So I ended up doing a lot of the formatting stuff for her, but that was like a solid day of work, just formatting this PhD, because it was, before I started doing the formatting properly, it was 300 pages. And after correctly formatting it, it is now 210. I did a pretty good job. I didn't remove any content, obviously, I just formatted it properly, but it's a lot easier to read, and actually in the style that they need, which is helpful. Microsoft Word is awful. I use Google Docs for everything, and it's so much easier to fix problems in Google Docs than it is in Word. Like, Word's got weird stuff in it where you'd select text and tell it to use a style, and it just wouldn't update to the new style. If you got, say, a section of text, and it's got 2 different fonts in it, if you select that text, if, say, one is Arial and one is Tahoma, and I want it all Tahoma, I say that because Tahoma's my favourite font. If I do that and click Tahoma, it does nothing. What I have to do is select it, make it a completely different font altogether. It can't be one of those 2. It has to be like Times New Roman. I can change both of them to Times New Roman and then change both of them to Tahoma. But if I try and change the font to a font that one of them already is, it does nothing. And that also works for like sizes and things like italics and bolds, and it just, so many weird things. Whereas in Google Docs, if you do that, you just select things and it just makes everything one of, like, whatever you clicked, and that's it. It was also doing this problem where, like, for some reason, it has, like, multiple versions of the same font. So it has Arial, but it also has, like, Arial Light or Arial Bold, and they're counted as different fonts, but it doesn't display that. So you can look at it and see that the font isn't right, but when you highlight it, it will say it's Arial. And if you go to the drop down and click Arial, it will say it's Arial, but it's actually Arial Light. And you have to, like, select it, make it a different font, and turn it back to Arial, and then it'll work. And it was such a nightmare. But I went through, properly formatted everything, and we got all of that done. And that was literally 6 straight hours of me doing all that. And then once that was done, then we could get it printed. So I finished that last week. It has to be submitted through her advisor. I don't remember what he's called, whoever it is. So we sent that to him, and then we also went and got a copy printed. So we went and got that printed, and then they gave it to me. Like, the printer gave it to me, and I started flicking through it, and I was like, wow, this is just, like, totally wrong. At first, they were like, well, you gave us the file, and I was like, yeah, but no, it's wrong. And then I got to one of the pages, and there was an image on it which was just a massive black square, and I was like, that wasn't me. Like, I could maybe admit that some of the formatting issues were me, but that is not me. And they were like, okay. So they agreed to reprint the entire thing for us, but they wanted it in a different file type. So we had to come home, resave it as a different file type, then go out again and do that. And because of this, and also because it takes like 3 hours to get printed, we lost 2 full days just getting this book printed. And now we've got it back, and I'm still not happy, because we've got a book that's printed and the pages are all correct, but they used the wrong paper. And I don't want to go back a third time and get them to redo it again, but I might have to. I really don't want to, though. But yeah, so we've got a submission that hasn't been technically submitted yet because, I don't know, we just didn't hear from the guy ever again. It's kind of annoying. Like, my wife really likes the guy, and like, he's been working with her for years. But in the last, like, 6 months, he's just fucking completely fell off a cliff, like, barely talking. And, like, we've been trying to get this submitted for weeks, and he just won't respond to us. Officially, she's supposed to finish in December. And if she doesn't finish in December, we have to pay for another year. And she's finished her work. She has to submit it and then have a meeting after that. But we sent it him over a week ago, and he's not submitted it yet. So she's now got 6 weeks left. And it's going to take probably close to that to get the meeting scheduled. I'm not paying for an entire fucking year because he won't send out an email that he needs to. It's just getting really frustrating. But yeah, so there was that, and that cost me 3 days. And then there was also my in-laws needed to change a tap on the sink. So I've done it before, they hadn't, but they seemed to know what they were doing. So it was fine. I lent them some tools and they just started doing it. And then I came out and found out that it wasn't working. So we had a look why, and it turns out that it had been there so long and it was also leaking that the nut that holds the tap in place had rusted in place. So it actually like fused to the screw, basically. So it was impossible to remove this tap. So we ended up trying as much stuff as we could. And in the process of it, the sink got cracked. So we technically need to replace it with a new sink, but they don't really want to. What happened was eventually I went to the other house and brought back my multi-tool and we cut around the tap. Not into the sink, but just like the tap body. Cut through the tap body until I could get to the top of the thread that the nut was on from the other side, basically. So I was cutting it out from above and cut through it so that it then came apart in 2 halves. And we finally managed to get the tap off then. And then we installed the new tap. And in the process of that, found out that the isolation valves were leaking. So they were like spraying water everywhere. So for that day, we just left it because when the isolation valves were open, they weren't leaking. It was specifically when they were closed because the rubber gasket had just melted away. So they would spray water out of the actual screw. So the other day, I went to the house and did a coat of paint. And while I was there, my father-in-law was trying to replace those. And then I came home and he hadn't managed to do it. So I ended up doing that as well. Those 2 jobs cost me like a day and a half. And then helping my wife with a PhD cost me like 3 days. So I've lost like 4.5 days in the last like week and a bit, basically doing all this stuff. And it's the sort of thing where none of it's like something I mind doing, but it's just all of that is compounded, especially because it's all so close together. Like if it had been spread out over the course of the month, it wouldn't actually been that big of a deal, but it's basically all taking place in the same week. And it just means that I just ran out of time to film. Because while the amount of work that goes into a podcast and the amount of work that goes into a video are actually pretty similar, there is obviously very little video work that goes into a podcast. The video version of this is literally just like still images, so that's like no effort. But what it does do is require a lot more audio editing, and there's also like way more recording to go through. To give you some idea, like my podcasts end up being about 20 minutes long each, something like that. But I've already been recording this one for 40 minutes, and I've still got one entire section to go. I say that because I actually record these out of order. I record my intro, then my outro, and then the middle in however I feel. So already I've recorded my intro, my outro, and the channel update section. And then the last section I record will be the biggest section, but is also the section that goes in the middle of the episode. This recording, right now, is 13 minutes and 5 seconds. So you can see, compared to where it actually is, how long I spend, like, trimming out and all that. What I was getting at is that they are actually about the same amount of work, but the difference is, I can record this podcast. It is currently 20 to 11 at night. And as long as I'm done by 11 o'clock tonight, I'm fine, because that still gives me enough time to play Ghost of Yotei, and I've done everything else I need to today already. Whereas I can only film video depending on what I'm doing. Like if I was doing a gameplay video, yeah, I could do that right now. But when I'm doing the video that I am doing, which I won't tell you what it is, but people already know, that can only be filmed at my other house during the day. So I just can't do that at the moment. And if I did it tomorrow, I wouldn't have enough time to get the video done by Friday. Whereas if I record this right now, I can have it done by Friday. And then that'll just have to go out next Friday instead, and I'll just swap the days around. It's not the end of the world. So last night, I started running into some issues with my computer. So despite this being the third section to the podcast, it's actually another day entirely that I've recorded all the other parts on. And then I also got ill, so I might sound different. And also, the title of the podcast, and a lot of the other things I've talked about in the podcast, is about how I've not finished any games this month. All of the notes for this section are about how I've not finished anything. And then I finished Silksong today, so that's just not true anymore. And I'm not updating everything to change that. So you just have to deal with it. So I've been playing a lot of games this month, which is really annoying because I was trying to get games finished and up until today hadn't managed to. And especially because I've got to start a new LP this week and I have no idea what it's going to be yet. I was hoping to have most of the games finished, and as of today I finished 1, but it still means I'm playing 5 games at the moment. I did finally stop playing Monster Hunter Wilds. The only thing I was really hanging around for was the Omega update, and it was fun, but I didn't actually enjoy the hunt at all. I don't know. I enjoyed the sort of stuff surrounding the hunt, and the Nursilla hunt that you do before you unlock Omega, that was fun, and all the stuff with Omega and Alpha, I liked that bit, but actually hunting Omega I just didn't enjoy. I feel like it's just too fast. I never felt like I could get out of the way of its attacks as quickly as I needed to. More so that this sort of strings would go on for so long that I could dodge all of the attacks and not do any damage, or I could take damage and do damage. But I never felt like I was in a comfortable enough position to be able to do both. And then doing it for other players, just everyone died all the time. And I'm pretty sure I ended up doing it on my own with the hunting helpers. I don't remember what they're called in this game. I think I ended up doing it on my own like that. And then literally the second I finished killing it, I was like, okay, just done now. What little interest I had left in the game is just gone. Today, as I'm recording it, the Halloween event came out. And that, combined with the fact that I've just finished Silksong, is making me think maybe I'll just go back and just do the Halloween stuff. But I'm not sure how much I care. The other half of that crossover with Arkfeld in 14, that was a lot more fun. I enjoyed that fight a lot more. I've only run it the once. I need to do it more. I've just been so busy with other stuff recently that I've not been playing a lot of 14. Like, I've been doing the stuff I need to progress. Like, so I'm doing the Yokhui, which I assume is how you pronounce it. I don't actually remember. I've been doing that every day so I can get that up so that I can do the actual quests on stream. But I've not done as many runs as I'd like to have. But the one that I did was fun. It was a lot on my first go through, but it was fun to do. And I'm looking forward to doing it some more. I've mentioned the Yokhui. I like the crafting stuff. It's not too time consuming or anything. Sorry if I'm distracted, loads of people are screaming outside and it's really fucking annoying. I've been trying to record this like all day and it's just so loud, and then it finally got quiet so I started recording, and then the second I started recording people started screaming outside. So the Hildebrand questline was good, but I don't know, I've not really engaged with this one as much. It's fun, but I don't think it's the best of them. I did like the bit where you cook eggs, that was funny. I did miss as well when they used to have the like dance numbers to wrap up the end of the missions each time, but I mean it's fine. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. I don't feel like this is as strong as some of the others have been. Like I said, I've finished Silksong now. I'm still feel much the same on it. There's some of it I really like, and as I've been playing more, I like it more, but still just in general, I just don't enjoy it. I like a lot of the stuff surrounding the game, I just don't really enjoy playing it all that much, and I'm kind of happy that I'm done with it now, but at the same time I felt kind of nothing. Like I feel nothing about it right now. So I'm going to need some time to properly sort my thoughts out on that, and you'll probably be waiting until December 2026 for them. It just seems like everyone in this house narrates what they're doing the entire time they're walking around, and it's just waiting for them to stop. Like, I just feel weird about it because I'm like actually pretty quiet. You might not think so, considering it's literally a podcast where I'm talking all the time, but I actually don't really talk all that much normally, and just the fact that everybody else I live with just wanders around talking to themselves the entire time, it drives me insane. I'm about halfway through Kurohyou 2 now. As of today, I've just finished chapter 6, so I've got 7, 8, 9, and 10 left. It's still fun, but they've made a lot of changes to it that I don't like. The most noticeable one is that the amount of XP you get seems to be way lower. The game's like way grindier than the first one is. Like the first one I was like at level cap, like practically halfway through the game, and in this one I think I'm like maybe at 19 now, something like that. The amount of grinding I'm having to do to get enough XP for anything is like pretty bad. The fights just don't seem worth it. Like the fights are giving you like, if you're lucky, like 100 XP. Another of my problems is the changes they made to the like ranking battle, the Kamurocho strongest thing, where in the last game it was just a guy and you went and spoke to him and you could just do the fights when you felt like it, and in this one you have to wander around the map and they'll send you a text when they're ready for you to have a fight, and then you have to go and talk to the guy and then he'll let you have the fight. But there's also way more of the fights because it's not just fight 30 people, it's fight 30 people and defend your position, and you can only progress if you defend enough times, and it's just like, it's such a mess, and I just don't want to do it. Because I'm always doing something when I get a text. Like I'm in the middle of a sub-story, or I'm on the way to the next main mission, and I'm just like, I'm not going to stop now and go and do that. It never comes at a good time, and I'm not going to spend all my time waiting around for it. So it just feels like I'm never going to do it, unless I decide to waste a load of time So I just really don't like the changes they've made to that, and especially now that there's 2 of them, and one of them you have to do with another character, and I don't know, I just don't like it. It's just a weird change that they've made that's just made the game less fun. This game, I don't know how to explain this. It's not a problem with the game, it's a problem with this, like the emulation of it and that. It's a lot buggier. I've had loads of crashes, which I've had to cut around in the videos and stuff. There's one crash which is pretty consistent, where if you level up a fighting style in a boss fight, the game can just crash. That's pretty consistent. It's not every time, but if it happens once, it will happen every time with that fight, basically. So you have to go into that fight with a style you've already maxed, which just means wasting a load of XP in a game that is already really rough on giving you XP, so it's just stressful. Then there's a bug with... There's missions where you chase enemies, those are fine, but there's missions where enemies chase you, and all of those are bugged, where the enemies move faster than you can possibly move, so it's impossible to progress through those. And the way you have to do it is you have to go into the emulation settings and reduce the clock speed, and then you have to do the chase and then turn the game off, reset the system basically. And then you can carry on as normal again, but you have to do that every single time you get chased. And it's just frustrating. Like, there's workarounds for it, but I've only emulated 3 games really, and all of them have been Yakuza games. I think this might be the worst. I think I actually had more crashes in this so far than I had in Dead Souls. And Dead Souls was pretty bad, but this is by far the worst. I don't know, like, I like the game, but I'm having a lot more problems with it, and there's bits of it that just aren't as fun, and also the translation just seems way worse in this version. I don't know, it's still fun, but it's like a much rougher game than the first one. While we're talking about Japan though, I've also put a lot of time into Ghost of Yotei, and I think it's finally starting to grab me. I'm like 20 hours in, and I'm just about to go into the 3rd area. You can kind of choose the order you go for. You can't choose the first one. The game starts with you killing the snake, which is weird because I've actually put out loads of adverts going, who are you going to kill first? Well, there is no choice, you have to kill the snake, it's the tutorial. So you kill the snake, and then you can kind of choose who to go for next. So I went the Oni next, so to Ishikari Plain, and before I got to Ishikari Plain, I just wasn't really enjoying it. The game felt pretty aimless. I didn't really feel like I was doing anything. Like, I was doing stuff in the game, but it felt like a waste of time, to be honest. But once I got to Ishikari Plain, the game felt a lot more structured. Once you start the game, you just gotta get left to your own devices. You have like one mission, and then it is choose where to go next. And it just felt really aimless for me. And then once you get to Ishikari Plain, which is where I went next, like I said, that area has a lot more structure to it versus where you first start off. And I feel like that's a very strange way of handling it, because I feel like if I was given more structure at the start, I could handle it being more open later. But instead, you're thrust into an open world and then have to find the structure yourself, and it doesn't feel as good to me. But I think I'm finally getting into it. But like I say, I'm like 20 hours in, and I'm about to do the 3rd boss, and I'm only just getting to a point where I'm like, yeah, I'm having fun. There's some stuff I really don't like. I feel like the game is a bit too obsessed with looking good, and it gets in the way of playing the game at times. One of them might just be me, but it does have a method for locking on enemies in combat, but it kind of discourages you using it, and it feels worse, because it looks cooler if you don't use it, but it actively feels worse, because like, it's quite easy to lose the enemy, because they'll like just walk off the edge of your screen, and you can't really see them, and then you'll be trying to move the camera, but the camera is really unresponsive in this game, because like I say, it feels like it's always trying to look cool, so it feels like you're actually like fighting the camera a lot of the time. So once I started using the lock on, that felt a bit better. There is also like, I'll go back to this point in a minute, but while I'm talking about controls, there's a setting that I always turn on, which just replaces button mashing with hold, or in this case as well, there's also a thing which replaces holding with taps, so you just press the button once instead of holding it. It's mostly just used in menus, like all those times when it's like, oh, hold X to buy this thing, I'm just like, I just want to buy it. So you just press the button and it just does it for you. The issue is that one of the menus for like changing weapons is the interact button, so if you have that setting on, you will try and interact, and sometimes it will just bring up the menu instead of interacting with the thing you want it to, and it's really annoying. In terms of it trying to look nice all the time, every time you get on the horse, it changes aspect ratio for the camera, and it also makes the camera feel even worse to move, and it's trying to make it look more cinematic, but it actually just discourages me from using the horse, because I can't see where I'm going as well, and it's harder to move the camera to see anything, and there's obviously just less view, and I don't get it. The game feels like it's really obsessed with looking good, and I'm like, yeah, but it feels worse because you're trying to look good. I really wish you just stop doing that. There is a chance that my earlier distaste for the game, though, is more just due to how hard of a time I had actually getting to play it, because it took me nearly 6 hours just to be able to start playing the game. So the game is 100 and something gigabytes, and I had 90 gigabytes free on my PS5, so I had to make space. What I decided to do was get rid of all of the pictures and videos and stuff that my PS5 takes constantly without you wanting it to. So I went to put them all on a USB stick, and it took 4 hours. It's just because moving things off a PS5 is really slow, because it took 4 hours to put them on the stick, but 20 minutes to get them off the stick onto my computer afterwards. So it's just the PS5 being slow. Right, so I finally got that out, and then deleted them off the PS5, but then it still said it was full, because it turns out that it doesn't actually delete stuff, it moves it to a separate section of device storage, and I'm not sure if it was because I turned my PS5 off. I assume it is, to be honest, but I don't know if it's because I turned it off or because I installed an update at the same time. I restarted my PS5 either way, and then that was gone, and then I could install the game, and then that took an hour, and then I could finally play it. So I started doing that at, I think it was about 3:30, and I could finally play the game at like 9 o'clock at night. It took so long just to install this game. What I've done since is I had a hard drive I was using to back up my computer at night, and it was 4 terabytes, and it was just a bit small for my backups, because like I make probably like 300-ish gigabytes a month of video. So like just over the course of a year, I fill up that quite regularly. And what that means is that there's very little room for error. So if you back up at a time when you don't want to, you'll end up with like loads of temp files that you would have deleted normally, but it's backed up at the wrong time, so you've ended up with those instead, and it means that it's taking up loads more space than it needs to, so you constantly have to clean your own backup. So I decided to just get a bigger hard drive so I don't have to deal with that again. So I got an 8 terabyte to do that with now. So I'm only going to have to do that once a year now, as opposed to every month. That freed up that 4 terabytes, so I've put that on my PS5 now and moved a load of stuff off my PS5. And I didn't even mention, there is actually an SSD in my PS5, but that is also full. Like, there's the internal storage and another SSD that I installed in it, and both of them were full. So I've moved a load of stuff off there onto this external hard drive now. But it's like, I don't even feel like I own a lot of PS5 games. I think I've only got like 20 or so. And then, like, I'm lucky because I've got one of the original consoles. Like, the new consoles have less space than this one does. I don't know if it's a matter of games are too big or consoles don't come with enough storage. It's kind of a combination of the both. I don't know, it's just frustrating. You spend more of your time just trying to install and update games, and you just spend way less playing them because of it. Now, I've not put the most time into it, but it is the one that I've enjoyed playing the most this month. It's actually Pokemon Legends ZA, and I really wasn't expecting that, because I have frequently talked about how much I hated Arceus, and I very much expected to hate this just as much. I was actually debating on not buying it at all, and getting the new Digimon instead, but I decided to hold off because I figured the Digimon would go on sale, and this will probably never go on sale. And I also figured I'd put less time into this and more time into Digimon, and while I knew I was going to be kind of busy at the moment anyway, I figured it would make more sense to buy the game I was put the least time into. But now I've started playing it, and it's great. I really like it. I like, for one thing, that it's just like one city rather than multiple open areas or like a big open world or whatever, because it just feels a lot more condensed. There's loads of stuff, but it's all in like one area, and it means that I never feel like I'm lacking for something to do. Like, I'll just walk around the corner and there's something there and it's cool and I'm just looking at it, or like go around and doing one of the platforming challenges, or catching a Pokemon I've not seen before today, or like anything like this. And it's just, I've always wanted like an open world that's dense and small rather than massive and empty, and this feels like perfect for that. I'm just really enjoying it so far. There's definitely problems with it. Like, my biggest problem is the lack of voice acting. You really feel it missing. It just needs voice acting. But I actually like playing it. I like the changes they've made to combat. I wish there was like proper defensive options. Like, I wish I could tell my Pokemon to like dive out of the way of attacks or whatever. That could improve it, but I'm still enjoying it. But just like wandering around the world and seeing the people with the Pokemon all the time. And I think that's one of the things that gets me, is that Scarlet and Violet, which I liked, but I don't feel like there was like people just wandering around with Pokemon doing stuff in that game as much. And in Arceus, you were at this tiny little town, which wasn't particularly interesting, and then massive open areas which just felt dead. Whereas this is, it feels like a city where people live with their Pokemon, and you just like walk around a corner and just see a guy with an Aerodactyl just talking to it the other day, and I was like, okay, I don't know, maybe over time I'll get bored of it, or maybe it'll just get really terrible all of a sudden, but it's really good. I'm just really liking it so far. It is the Pokemon game I've enjoyed the most in years, so I'm pretty glad that I got it, really. Especially considering, like I said, how much I hated Arceus. I really felt like I was forcing myself to play Arceus, whereas with ZA, I'm like forcing myself not to. It's one of the reasons why I'm recording this right now. I've been complaining a lot of the time that like there's loads of noise going on outside. I could have waited even later to record this, but if I'd waited even later, I'd have less time to play ZA. and I really want to. So I'm actually going to stop recording it now and go do that. I've already talked about Kurohyou 2, but that's going to carry on for now. I'm not sure what I'm going to do when that finishes. I've just started recording the episodes for November, but we've still got 4.5 chapters left, and that might take us all the way through to December. If it ends before December, then I should start a new LP in December, but I don't know if I really want to, because that means it will go on for then and then like stretch over the years like I've spoken about previously. I just don't like doing that. It'd feel weird not doing one then, but maybe I won't, and then I'll come back in January and just start again with the 2 LPs. Or I might even still be playing it in December with the rate that this is going. Like I said, we've still got 4.5 chapters left. I got through 5.5 chapters in a month, so we should be able to get through 4.5 chapters in a month. That should be fine. And I've actually got more time this month because there won't be a patch. But we'll just have to see how long the content takes us, basically. I've mentioned how grindy it is, so there might be more grinding to do for some of the content. So that might make it take longer anyway. I did hear that 2 is a longer game than 1, and some of that is the content, and some of that is also just that it's grindier. So we'll see. Wavetale finished, and it's just a shame that the game is so broken. It is fun, and could be fun, or more fun rather, but it just feels so broken. It's so rough. It feels like they got to like content lock and then just shipped it straight away, and it just was not ready for that. There is the bones of the game, there's all the quests in the game, all of that is there, but there is absolutely zero polish. It could have been so much better, and that's honestly almost worse than it being bad. To replace that though, I've got a new LP starting on Tuesday, and I haven't even decided what it is yet. To give you some idea, I'm recording this on Tuesday night. I've got a little under a week until that episode has to come out, and I haven't even decided what it's going to be. It's going to be something, but I don't know what. I've got ideas. There's a couple of games that I put to the side because I would like to do them for an LP, so I might choose one of those. I might choose someone completely different anyway, but I'll have a look through my list and see if anything jumps out at me. And then, other than that, everything's just going to carry on as normal. Special thanks to all of my patrons. You can join them over at patreon.com/Holden Gatsby, and for $1 a month you'll get to see what I'm working on early, wallpapers for my LPs, exclusive roles in my Discord, and any other rewards I might think of. You can also just follow me there if you want to for free, as it's probably the best place to see all of my content as soon as it's available. There's links to the Patreon, along with my Discord, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Twitch, and all the other podcast platforms in the description for this episode. Finally, don't forget you can email me using podencastby@gmail.com if you've got anything you want to say. Thanks for sticking around. Bye. Special thanks to my patrons, Justin Wood, Hobbs, and Koopy Vegeta. You can join my patrons at patreon.com/Holden Gatsby, check out my TikTok and Twitter @Holden Gatsby, and follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Holden Gatsby. Don't forget to subscribe to all of my channels. If you want more, you can watch my last video now, but if not, then thanks for sticking around. Bye.